Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming. I'm the majestic Snare and this is my disembodied voice coming at you with a first impression / review of Yes Your Grace, a game from Brave at Night Studios, little 5-man outfit. Might even be a woman in there as well if I remember correctly, but it's a 5-person studio team bringing to you this kind of kingdom RPG management sim, which is it's got a few kind of problems or rough around the edges elements, which I think could be fixed, but certainly it's a game that's kind of captured a corner of my heart. I generally am a bit of a sucker for these kind of games when it's the vision is explored through not trying to get photorealistic graphics, but just kind of a story to tell and engaging interactions between characters. It's always a good thing to see, and one of the things you might be able to hear from behind the scenes here, or behind my voice, if I shut up and let you listen to it for a little bit, is the voicing is actually just nonsense. The sound is different between characters, but it's a text-based game. But I do love the fact that you've got something to listen to and engage with audibly, as well as just reading text all the time. I think that would get quite dry for a lot of people's attention span, so I think that's a good touch. Even if they couldn't, get somebody in to do, or actors in to do all the different voices, there might be something they could do in the future. Who knows? But I definitely think this is one of those games that if you're into that kind of management element, it might be up your alley. So you basically play as a king, obviously, if you're dealing with a kingdom, or a queen. You could pretend that's a queen. But at the moment, you can't really choose which sex you are. You are a king. And you're dealing with a potential invasion, as you can see here from the archers that you're telling to stand and fight for Davern, which is your kingdom. And you are dealing with a potential invasion threat. Now, the game itself is dealing with a main core mechanic of dealing with petitioners that come to, oh look at that beautiful title, they come to your throne room and present you with problems, and that could consist of your peasants and your subjects, your family, of some of which you can see here. It might be your generals reporting back from duty. It might be some other lords and kings from other kingdoms that you're going to try and get in with and be friendly with, so you can get them to help you fight off the invading hordes. And as a core mechanic, it's quite nice. You end up dealing with a whole range of people, and the decisions that you make aren't really guided. So you get options to respond to things. And one of the problems I think I would have here is there's no real clear guide or clue as to you might only get a choice of a short answer, and that turns into something you didn't actually want on occasion, which is a problem of multiple choice conversation trees. That happens quite a lot in those kind of games, and it's no different here. The big part that I found quite jarring is the need to kind of exit each area and move between areas, and that does kind of add a bit to the game time. I've probably sunk about 3 to 4 hours into this so far, so this really is a first impression. I wouldn't consider this a full-blown review, but I am aware of some of the mechanics that you get a bit further on in the game, even though you're seeing the very beginnings here as part of the footage. You have an advisor there who can kind of give you an update on things that are happening, and here you see some of the petitioners, including your wife, I think, coming up to ask you to do something. And you can see there's a couple of a guardsman behind her, and a couple of peasants behind them. There's various people that are trying to swindle you out of either money or supplies. There's people that really need it, and I think the game mechanic is based on the fact you can't actually help everyone, and I think that's a really important part to make this game worth having a look. Now, the cost of this game is about £14 on Steam at the moment, and that's with a 10% discount, probably because it's only released on the 6th of March. So I'm not sure if I would recommend it at £14. It's got a lot to it, but I'm not sure of any replay value, as I haven't played through once completely yet, and I don't know whether the choices you make can be that different. I would hope so, and I would hope that it kind of becomes a bit more of a thing later on in the game to actually cause problems. I mean, here I'm giving out stuff willy-nilly, and it's it's helping me, but I found out later that it actually screwed me over, and I died or ran out of money. So everyone ransacked the palace and the game was over. I did get to continue, which was good, so I didn't have to play from the start again. And I guess with that signifies to me that it might not have a lot of replay value. These people are just rinsing me of money, so I would probably go back and do that definitely if I played again. Anyway, so you can see on the screen here you've got kind of a guy just above the archives button. That's one of your generals. You'll be able to send him out to survey new areas that you uncover as the game expands, or get things done, or provide help to certain villagers who are... There we go. General can deal with these bandits, and he's been dispatched. And the kind of happy and sad faces is your contentment of your particular subject in your kingdom. So from those people, you get to basically get more taxes from them, and they're more happy and less likely to revolt at you, I guess. So there's a mechanic there. You have to keep people happy. You have to have enough resources. So there is a bit of a balance to go on. And here I am just asking my particular aid of what we do and how we do it. This is from the beginning of the game, so this is a lot of the kind of stuff you'll see. You also have pigeons. You can see the happy and sad faces there. Basically, you can use those to invite people to your kingdom, and they obviously send letters to you from people that you are friends with. So there's lots of bits and pieces in this throne, and this is where most of the game is taking place. Once you've been dealing with all your petitioners, and you might have some things to do around the palace. So here you see some diamonds, which are very Sims-like, even though they kind of talk like Sims in a different way. But you basically have things to do and people to talk to, and matters to deal with in these different areas. So there's a lot to be doing in this game if you just like exploring the characters. And that's one of the things I will point out at the very early stages. I have started to care about these characters as the story goes on. There's things that are happening to them, that you're having discussions with about stuff, all kinds of things where you think, well, yeah, this is actually a character. This is somebody that I can recognise from something else in the game, remembering what their likes and dislikes are, or what they have in store for them and what we have to do. It's quite a troubled family, I'll give them that, in terms of how they've written it. There's lots of problems here. Here's a dungeon, obviously been damaged and needs to be repaired. We've got someone in the cell there. I did find a particular invading scout member, and I locked him up, and that paid off later on in the game. So it does seem to be, things are not obtuse and in front of you quite easily as you'd expect with some other games. You have particular things happen, and you have no knowledge that it will be the right or wrong thing to do at that point until you meet somebody later on who says, oh, I need this thing, and you've either got rid of the thing or dealt with the stuff the other way. All these kind of differences you can have in the game arcs can give you a positive or a negative effect on relationships with other lords and ladies and kings and queens, or basically not be able to open up certain things. Now, I have had somebody that has offered me some items to help me deal with petitioners, because it will help me identify whether they're lying or not, or be able to help people. And I think there's a witch you can get in your court. So there's so many different bits and pieces that I have found. Do you know what? There's actually a little bit more to this game now than I was expecting. There's obviously some archives here, some background details on what's what in the game, and that's good and handy. And the only bad thing I would say about this is having to exit the areas at certain points. I would much rather, not necessarily a fast travel map or anything, but the need to exit out of a certain exit point on the screen when you go to an area like this. So if I want to exit this area, I've got to go back past that kind of wooden barn. That is a little bit of a negative thing I would mention, but it's not a game breaker. It's just a personal preference. If I want to leave an area, I potentially want to click around and go to a different area very quickly, and it might be just to expand the game time rather than adding any real value. But then again, in real life you can't just suddenly appear at a different place. You're gonna have to go through the fucking door. So what do I think is a first impression? What would I expect it to turn into after maybe a full playthrough? As a score out of 10, I'd probably give this at the moment a strong 6, and that's not a bad score. You know, that's like, okay, first impressions. I'm past being on the fence and giving it just a 5 out of 10, but I'm certainly thinking that as time goes on, this is a potential 8 out of 10, depending on how the writing goes, depending how the story goes. It's got really quite in depth and quite thick with story within a couple of hours of playing the game, and I do appreciate that, because it's once you got the hook of what kind of game it is. Oh, I can, you know, make some money out of taxes, and I can do these things to build up my kingdom. I can invest in these kind of businesses or these things that will generate income for me. I can spend it on crap stuff like this, like fixing things. But yeah, I mean, once you get past that, you need something to hook you in. And I honestly think the 5 guys and maybe 1 lady at Brave at Night Studios, they've done a good thing here. They've kept the focus quite kind of I want to use a fancy word, but what I mean is they've definitely got a focus on what their vision is, and they haven't had to rely on photorealistic graphics to achieve that vision. And it definitely feels like a game that I would spend more time with. I want to understand what happens to this family, this royal family, and what happens to the kingdom, and can I help or hinder that outcome. The petitioner mechanic is quite nice. It's a bit like Papers, Please, if you've played that. People come to you, you deal with their problems, you deal with somebody and move on. So I think it's got a nice twist on games that I've played in the past that I've enjoyed, and I will be coming back to it. So I really do think it's a potential 8 out of 10 following a full playthrough. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this game, just from the footage and what gameplay you can kind of spot, and from my first impressions here today. So let me know down in the comments what you think, and maybe we'll have a quick discussion about whether this game is actually worth £14 or not. I'm not entirely convinced yet, but I would say it's definitely worth picking up for about a tenner if it comes down anymore. As I said, it's a very recently new release game on Steam for £14. So go check it out if you fancy, because I think it'll be up to about 15 following the launch 10% discount, which I don't know how long that's going to be there for. So remember, guys, we have videos coming out every Wednesday and Saturday. I can't even talk now, talking too long. Check out our channel for some more awesome content. I really can't get my words out because I'm now watching some of the gameplay and I want to go and play it, so that's a good sign. But yeah, please like and subscribe. All that good stuff helps out the channel a great deal, and I'll catch you again next time. So until then, take care. Okay, love you. Bye bye.